Ella loved going to yard sales. She run family to go through other people's stuff, haggle over prices, and find hidden treasures for just a few dollars. Today was no different, and as she sifted through a box of old costume jewelry, she found a delicate pair of silver shoes with sequins sparkling all over them. They were a little big, but Ella slipped them on anyway. As soon as they touched her feet, she felt a tingle, like 1,000 tiny pins and needles pricking her skin. Then, before she could even take a step, her feet began to move on their own. "Whoa!" Ella cried out, stumbling as her feet involuntarily twirled and leaped. She tried to stop them, but it was no use. Her feet kept dancing. She whirled around the driveway in circles, feeling giddy and a little scared. As she sped up, her dress flew out behind her like a pink and purple cape. It was amazing and kind of terrifying. Suddenly, one of her shoes came untied, and Ella bent down to tie it back up. But as soon as she did, her foot shot out and kicked her in the head. She fell flat on her face with a loud "oof!" Shaking her head, Ella decided that these magical shoes had to be a trick. Maybe they were designed to flip-flop and flashed as she walked. She stood up, took a deep breath, and started walking towards the house. But her foot kept moving. It tapped out a beat on the concrete, as if marching to a drum solo in her head. Then something incredible happened. The rest of her body began to move too. She swayed side to side, her arms pumping in the air. She twirled and dipped and curtsied, without knowing how or why. It was like her body had turned into a puppet and was being controlled by an invisible puppeteer. As she moved, Ella noticed her shoes weren't sparking anymore. The sun had taken most of the sparkle off them. But as she continued to dance, she saw that the light from the sun and the moon reflected in her eyes, making them sparkle even brighter than before. The backyard was big and open, perfect for practicing fancy footwork, leaps and spins. Ella twirled so fast that her sparkly hairband flew off her head and landed in a bush. Then she took a giant leap across the grass and landed flat on her face again. Ow! She sat up and looked around. She didn't see anyone watching her, thank goodness. She must have been dancing for hours, and now her legs and feet hurt. She wanted to take off the shoes. But what if the dancing stopped? Would the magic go away? She walked inside the house, careful not to make any sudden moves and wake anyone up. She tiptoed into the kitchen and poured herself a glass of water. While drinking, she accidentally tapped her foot on the floor. Tap, 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 tap. The sound made her whole body move. Her shoulders shimmied, her hips swayed, and her hands snapped in the air. She raced to the bathroom and stared at her reflection in the mirror. She looked crazy, like someone who had way too much fun at a disco party that never ended. But then she heard a voice in her head that sounded suspiciously like her mother's. "It's just a phase," the voice said. "Just a silly little phase." But it wasn't a phase. These shoes were making her dance, and she couldn't control it. She needed to get rid of them. But what if she lost the magic forever? As Ella pondered this serious problem, she accidentally bounced on her toes. Up and down, up and down. A smile spread across her face. Maybe she didn't want to get rid of the magic after all. The shoes made her feel alive, happy, and free. She twirled around the bathroom in her underwear and socks. When her dad knocked on the door to ask what she was doing, she quickly hid the shoes under her bed. Her plan was to go to school, return the shoes, and then tell her mom and dad about the magic. Ella felt tears stinging her eyes, but she blinked them away. She might look crazy, but she felt amazing. She put on her shoes and danced right through the halls, dodging lockers and students left and right. She twirled past her teachers, who were either too stunned to react or pretended they didn't see her. At last, she reached the principal's office. She knew Mrs. Bumble loved anything to do with dancing. Maybe she could help. When Ella burst through the door, she saw that Mrs. Bumble was wearing sparkly purple shoes, just like hers. "Mrs. Bumble, I need your help," Ella gasped. "These shoes are making me dance uncontrollably. Can you please fix them?" Mrs. Bumble raised an eyebrow. "Dance uncontrollably. Sounds like fun. Let's try it." She put on the shoes and immediately hopped up and down. "Ooh, I haven't danced since I was little." And so instead of helping Ella, Mrs. Bumble spent the whole morning dancing up and down the halls while Ella watched sadly. Finally the bell rang, which meant recess. As she walked onto the playground, Ella noticed that all of the kids were staring at her. "Come on, Ella," shouted a boy from the monkey bars. "Show us your funky shoes." Ella hesitated. Did they know about the shoes? Were they expecting her to dance? Suddenly, she heard a familiar voice. "It's just a phase, honey. Just a silly little phase." Mom. She was here to collect the shoes. "Mom, they're making me dance," Ella said quietly. Mom knelt down next to her. "Oh, sweetie, they're just shoes. They can't make you dance. You have to believe in magic for that." But Ella knew that they had made her dance. She believed in magic, and that's why they worked. "See, it's really simple," Mom said. "All you have to do is stop believing," with tears streaming down her face. Ella took off her shoes and handed them to her mom. Nothing happened. No more tingling, no more dancing. She felt empty inside. Walking home, Ella kicked at a pebble on the sidewalk. She wished she could dance again, but now her feet felt heavy like lead. She trudged up to her room and flopped onto her bed. Looking around, she saw all of the sparkly things she had collected over the years. Sequins, gems, ribbons, hairbands, and even a few stray feathers. An idea sparked in her mind. She put on her favorite outfit, a pink dress with purple spots, tied her hair with a rainbow ribbon, put on a sparkly headband, and grabbed a feather boa. Then she walked downstairs and out the front door. The sun was shining, the birds were tweeting, and Ella began to twirl and leap and skip down the street. She danced through puddles and fields, and even over a little bridge. As she danced, Ella felt happier than she ever had before. She was dancing from her heart, and that made her feel free, beautiful, and truly magical.